If you're planning to take a cruise on board MSC Preziosa, then listen up. In this video today, I'm going to share with you 15 of my top tips based on my experience on board this week. If you do find this video useful and if you do enjoy it, then it would be great if you would support my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. Both of these hugely help my channel to grow and they help my content to reach more people. So thank you very much in advance. Now today I'm sharing with you my 15 tips based on my experience this week that hopefully will help you get the most out of your cruise. Starting at number 1. Before you even think about heading to the port, you need to log into your online account and make any necessary purchases before the cruise. That way, you can make sure that you pay as little as possible for some of the key things that you might be planning to buy on board anyway. Think about packages like Wi-Fi, think about speciality dining, think about drinks packages. In my experience, you can save about 15 or 20% with MSC by booking these and paying for them in advance of the cruise. You can log into your cruise account or your online account from essentially as soon as you make the booking. It is important to note that about 3 days before your cruise, that online booking system will close down and then you'll be able to still buy drinks packages, dinners on board, so on and so forth, but you will be paying full price. So if you want to save 15 or 20%, and let's be honest, who doesn't, then log into your online account and add it to your basket and pay prior to 3 days before your cruise. Next, number 2, you need to plan your day carefully on board. Based on what I've seen this week, I would say that MSC Preziosa does seem to suffer in some areas with significant levels of passenger fluctuation. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that if you look at going to the buffet restaurant for breakfast, for example, the peak time in there is going to be between 8 AM and 10 AM. So it's definitely worth thinking, is there any benefit to you getting up and going up there for breakfast at 7:30 prior to the rush hour coming in? Or if you're having a lazy day on board, why not go up there and have breakfast at 10 AM? At the point of recording this video, the breakfast buffet closes at 11 AM. So if you are chilling out on board and you're happy to have a later start, that might make it a lot less stressful up there. Now, that applies for the buffet. It also applies for places like the theatre. I find that people will arrive at the theatre about 30 minutes before the show, and it can be really busy to try and get in and find a good seat. However, if you appear 15 minutes before the show starts or slightly earlier, then you probably stand a fair chance of not being in a queue, pushing to get down the stairs. It's just so much easier if you try your hardest to avoid the rush. I would say that elsewhere on the ship doesn't really seem to be too bad, but the key areas would be the buffet and the theatre. Number 3, don't leave things until the final opportunity and until the last chance, because you need to remember the fact that the venues on this cruise ship are quite small. Now, to give you an example of what I mean here, if you go on some cruise ships and you maybe are used to the much bigger ships, maybe you want to head to a certain bar to try one specific cocktail. Maybe on an MSC cruise ship, you want to head up and check out the Formula 1 racing simulator. Well, on this cruise ship, the bars will be a lot smaller than what you're maybe used to on the bigger, more modern mega ships. And in the case of the Formula 1 racer, there's only one of them on the whole ship. If I think about other MSC cruise ships that I've been on, there are quite often 2 of those simulators, so on a busy night, that attraction can get through people much quicker. Now, if too many people leave that until the last minute, you're going to find that you're probably going to really struggle to fit that in. Now, we've used the example of the Formula 1 racer there, but this can also apply to places like Butcher's Cut, the speciality dining option. If you leave your reservation until the final day on board, and if too many other people do that too, you're not going to get a table. So as soon as you get on board, try and, going back to our previous point, plan to understand all of the things that you really want to do while on board and try and tick them off as early in the cruise as you can so that you're not disappointed. Number 4, This one is particularly relevant to you if you are more used to the more modern mega ships from MSC, which is the camp I would put myself in before this cruise. I was used to the World Europas of the MSC world, or the MSC Virtuosas or Meravigilias. They are much, much bigger cruise ships. They have huge open spaces, large internal promenades. World Europa has a huge outdoor promenade as well. Now, the design of MSC Preziosa is fundamentally different to all of those other cruise ships. One thing that I really like about Preziosa is that rather than all of the venues opening out onto one central promenade, you actually go through all of the different venues as you progress through one deck of the ship. That means that each venue is very specifically themed. So if you look at the Green Jazz Bar, for example, it is a very distinct venue, and then the diner next door looks totally different. I really do like that, but this ship feels like a much more traditional cruise ship than many of the other fleet mates in the MSC Cruises fleet. Number 5, if you're cruising from the UK, then you are going to have one of these kettles in your cabin. My tip here is that you may as well think about bringing your favourite hot drinks with you. On board, they do supply PG Tips tea, Tetley Earl Grey tea, and peppermint tea, flavoured tea. They have quite a lot of different options here. And at the point of recording this video, they are also offering Nescafe, instant coffee, and decaf coffee in all of the cabins. If, however, you like a particular brand and you like to start your morning a certain way, then why not just bring that on board with you? It's one of my favourite things about cruising out of the UK with MSC, because so many cruise lines don't give you a kettle, so it's a massive thumbs up from me to MSC for giving one of these in your room. Number 6, if you're cruising in a cabin close to the back of the ship, then this one is going to be pretty important to you. If you think about how you would usually access the top deck of the ship, you would probably say that you would head along to the lift or the elevator lobby, you would click the button or climb the stairs, and then you would go up. On this cruise ship, you don't necessarily have to do that to get to some outside space. Fine, okay, if you have a balcony, you have outside space right there. But if, like me, you often cruise on the inside of the ship, then you're probably going to love this one. It took me a few days to realise, but at the very back of the ship, on most of the decks, there is a huge balcony section with a staircase that goes all the way up and all the way down. I think it takes you between the promenade deck all the way up to deck 14. So it's a real hidden gem, because if you are cruising on the inside of the ship, all you have to do to get some outside space and to get a view and some fresh air is just walk to the end of the corridor and go out towards the back of the ship. Let me know in the comments if you have seen this on any other cruise ships, because when I found it a few days ago, it blew my mind. Number 7, if you're planning to go to the buffet while on board, the primary way to access that is from the main entrance on deck 14. What a lot of people don't know is that from the pool at the back of the ship on deck 15, there's another entrance, and in fact, there are 2 entrances. This will be particularly useful to you if you are cruising on a warm weather itinerary, which would mean that you'd be spending much more time up there. If you use these secret entrances at the back of the pool deck on deck 15, it'll save you so much time. Otherwise, you would have to go all the way from the back to the midship and then downstairs. So if you're looking to beat the rush and get into the buffet a slightly different way, go to the back of deck 15 and take the stairs down. Number 8, while you're cruising on MSC Preziosa, don't limit yourself to dine only at the buffet or in the main dining room. There are a number of different options for you on this cruise ship. If you check your daily schedule, you will find all of the opening hours for all of the other venues, but you can find snacks down in multiple of the cafes elsewhere on the ship. I've actually completed and put together a full dining guide for MSC Preziosa, so if you'd like to check that out, head down to the description of this video at the end and you can head straight over there. I meet so many people who limit themselves to the buffet and the main dining room, and then they find themselves constantly eating in a really busy environment. The cafes downstairs are much more chilled. If you go to the Phoenician Plaza, for example, you'll find yourself in this environment that is just so much nicer than the buffet. Okay, it might feel a little bit like Las Vegas down there, but it's much more calm and much more relaxing than running around the buffet trying to get similar sandwiches and light bites. I would really recommend that you check this place out while you're on board. Number 9, remember there's a promenade deck. During this cruise that I've been on for the last week, we had one port where everybody wanted to go on the top deck to watch us leave. That meant that the railings were pretty busy and it could be quite difficult to get a good view or to get a good picture of the view. Now, what a lot of people don't realise is that this cruise ship actually does have a really good and quite extensive promenade deck on deck number 7. One of the things that I love about a promenade deck is that it allows you to be much closer to the water than being up on the top deck. On this cruise ship, for example, to be on the top, you're away up on deck number 15, whereas the promenade is down on deck number 7, so you're much closer to the waterline. This cruise ship does not have a wraparound promenade where you can walk all the way around on the outside of the ship, but you can go all the way down one side, just cut into the inside of the ship, go across the elevator lobby, and then come all the way back down the other. So if you are looking for daily exercise or if you are looking for somewhere to get a good view, that could be the place for you. It is worth mentioning that the promenade deck on Preziosa does have quite significant lifeboat presence there. On some ships, the lifeboats will be over the deck, but here they very much are directly beside the deck. That will mean that as you go down the length of the ship, you do have a very limited view, but there are quite large sections where that view really opens out. So if you have a really picturesque sail away while on board, head to deck number 7 and I can almost guarantee you, you're going to miss the crowds. Number 10. Go for a walk around this cruise ship and appreciate how different it is to so many other ships. One thing that I really like about MSC Cruises generally is that the interior design touches that go into these cruise ships is just so unique to MSC. I feel like when you look at a photo from an MSC cruise ship that you've never been on, you probably would give it a pretty good guess that that was an MSC ship that you were looking at. There really is nothing else out there like them. Whether it be wandering around looking at the various pieces of art on the ship, or whether it be just going around and appreciating how unique all of the venues are, you really need to spend a bit of time on your cruise just wandering around the ship. I always recommend that you do this early on in the cruise to help you get your bearings. Why not, once you get on board, go to deck number 5, walk from one end to the other, then move to deck number 6 and walk from one end to the other, and so on and so forth. Maybe you try and do 2 decks per day. Maybe you try and scale every single deck on day 1. I guarantee you, you're going to see things walking around this cruise ship that you've never seen before. Number 11, try and sample all of the live music that's on offer on this cruise ship. For a ship the size that she is, I've been really impressed with the number of live music options on board. Whether you like jazz music, pop music, classical music, acoustic music, and so many other genres, there genuinely is something on board to suit just about any music taste. The best way to find out what's on in each venue is to look at your daily schedule, which will either be delivered to your cabin daily, or you can access it via the MSC app, which you should download before you go on your cruise. My personal highlights, I absolutely love karaoke. It's in the same venue every night, that's down in the jazz bar, and I always find the duo who play in the main atrium, they absolutely are fantastic. So pick your favourite venue, enjoy it, but make sure that you move around and try and experience all of it. Number 12, ride the glass elevators. So many cruise ships nowadays don't have these glass elevators, especially the modern ones. It seems to be a feature of more traditional ships, is what I've found in my experience anyway. And on Preziosa, They are so cool. If you are looking to get into one of those lifts, all you have to do is go to the mid-ship elevator lobby, push the button, and hopefully one of the two in the middle will come for you. If one of the ones on either side, so there's 4 in a row, if one of the ones on either side come, then it's just a regular elevator, but the 2 in the middle are the glass ones. Now, on this cruise ship, between deck 5 and deck 10 is entirely open, so if you get in at deck number 5, you'll get to see that atrium disappear as you go up, and you disappear into the tube at the top, and then after a few seconds, you then suddenly have a view across the pool deck. It is so cool. So whether you begin in that elevator up at the top or down at the bottom, try and get in there and ride the whole journey. It's really, really cool, and you might want to have your camera ready as well. Number 13. If you're hoping to do some shopping on here, then find out as early as you can in your cruise if there are any discount days or special events that will mean that you can save some money on your shopping. The example that I would give you is that I was looking to buy a bottle of aftershave or perfume or cologne. When I got on board, that aftershave was already a decent price, but I just said to the lady behind the counter, look, are there any special events coming up on this cruise in this shop? To which she replied, yeah, in 2 days' time there's going to be 20% off. So I thought, great, I'll just wait 2 days and I will save 20% off of the already decent price. So this tip applies whether you are looking at the MSC logo shop, the perfume shop, the alcohol shop, whatever you're looking at buying, just make sure you ask the question to make sure that if you hold off a couple of days, you're not going to be able to save yourself some money, because the money that you save at the shops, you can spend it elsewhere. Number 14. Try the 4D cinema while you're on board. I didn't expect to find a 4D cinema this good on a ship that isn't the newest in the fleet, but I was so surprised. You'll find this all the way up at the very top of the ship, directly beside the Formula 1 racer. You have to walk through the video arcade and then you'll find the 4D cinema at the very end. This does cost you a little bit extra, and the shows are very short. Most of them are around 5 minutes long. In here, you can expect to be seated on, to be honest, what feels like a bit of a roller coaster. You go in, you'll fasten your seatbelt, and then your chair will tilt, rock, move. There's special effects in there. There's huge fans that blow all this goodness knows what at you. It is amazing. Now, as I say, it does cost extra. You can look at things like an MSC Fun Pass, which will help bring the cost down. You can find out more about MSC Fun Passes down in the description of this video, because I wrote an article recently over on my website. So yes, number 14, check out that 4D cinema. Number 15, my final tip for your upcoming cruise on MSC Preziosa is to approach this with a really open mind. As I've mentioned a few times throughout this video, this cruise ship is probably going to be pretty or very different to many that you've been on before, especially if, like me, you are a British cruiser and you are more used to the bigger, more modern ships that we've had based in the UK in recent years. I wasn't sure what I would think of this cruise ship, but I can tell you now, I have loved the whole experience of being on board. At the point of recording this video, the ship is beautiful, the crew are absolutely fantastic, and I really do hope that you have as great a time on board as I have. So that's it. That's my 15 top tips that hopefully will make your time on board MSC Preziosa as good as mine has been. If you have enjoyed this video and if you found it useful, as I mentioned earlier, I would really appreciate it if you would click the thumbs up and also the subscribe buttons, and let me know down in the comments what you think. Are there any points that I've missed, or are there any points that you're particularly in agreement or not with? Let me know down there. If you did enjoy this video, then why not join me in another one? If you are not planning to cruise on MSC Preziosa, then I have got so much more over on my channel. But if you'd like to stay with me and learn more about this cruise ship, then why not join me over in this video? Here, I present my full dining guide to you, covering all of the meals on board and all of the dining options. Don't watch this one if you're hungry, so maybe go and get a snack, and I'll see you over there.